Hi, first grade. It's time to look at our PAWS Sort for the week. This week, you are thinking about PAWS Sort 30, which is kind of a review week. You have a lot of words this week. All of them are using the letter R in them. And here are our headings that we're looking at this week. We have AR saying R. We have this upside down ER, which that upside down E is supposed to stand for the schwa sound. And that happens when you have a letter in a word, a vowel, and it has a stronger letter around it, and it changes the sound that it makes. So in our schwa sound this week, we're going to be having the sound. And then we have or sound. For the R group, the word examples are going to follow a very similar spelling pattern. But for our schwa group, which is saying we're going to have several different examples of that spelling. Several different examples of spelling with that sound. So we're really going to have to pay attention to when we hear then that is going to be our schwa. And then the OR group, or, is also going to have some varying spelling patterns. So we're going to have to really listen for the OR sound and the sound. And then R is going to, really all of the words are going to look the same. So we're coming over now to our first column. So I'm looking at our first word and I'm listening. Score. When we say score, I hear or. So because it's saying or, I'm going to move it with the OR group. That means the or group. Earn. So this is an example of a schwa word. This R is a very strong letter, and when it's with vowels, it tends to be very, very bossy. So earn, like I'm earning a lot of money. That's going to go in our schwa group. Thorn, listening to that one, and I do hear or. So thorn is going to go to our or group. And the same thing with snore. I hear or. Even though it's O-R-E, and the last example was O-R. We're listening this week to what sound we hear. Horse, chore, bore, and core. And I'm noticing that all of those four are saying or. Horse, chore, bore, and core. So moving all four of those to our or group. Going to the next column. Warm, bore, horse, and worn. So I'm hearing all four of those again are saying or. So I do notice that this is warm or, but the spelling is AR, but let's go off of the sound this week. When we say the sound warm, or is what we hear. Or and bore. Horse has or, and then worn has or as well. So even though this is an A, we're going to put it with or because of what it's saying. So I'm going to move those four. Moving to our next column. Just taking really quick to get organized. Okay. Pearl, hard, yarn, and spur. So when I listen to those, pearl, I'm hearing but it's E-A-R. That is going to be with our group, which happens to be the schwa, the upside down E group. Hard and yarn, in both of those, hearing R. So moving hard and yarn to the AR group, R. And spur, It's a U-R, but I'm hearing again that So again, that R in the back is really deciding what the sound is. So you can't really tell what vowel it is just by listening. You have to kind of pay attention to the patterns in it. So spur we're going to put with our schwa group. Next column, search, march, lurk, sir. So coming up to search, I hear so moving search to our schwa group. March, I'm hearing AR saying R, so moving march to the AR group. Lurk, it's a UR, but I'm again hearing which is our schwa sound this week. The same thing with sir, moving it to our schwa group. Coming to our last row, our last column. Looking down, worst, jar, worth, and worn. So looking through that one. Hearing, I know that this is, it has an OR, but it's not saying or this time. This example is saying worst. So that one is going to need to go to the group, the schwa saying So moving that one. Jar. For jar, I hear R. So moving that one to the R group. Worth, again it's OR, but it's not saying or, it is saying So moving worth to the group, the schwa. And worn, it's AR, but this time it's saying or. So worn, we're going to move to the OR group. So now it's time to look back over our words and make sure everything sounds okay. So in our AR group, all of our examples are saying R. So I'm going to listen to each one and make sure they're all saying R. In this particular group, the spelling is very similar in all of them. So we're going to call it regular. It's very regular. It makes a lot of sense because they're all doing the same thing. So R, yarn, hard, march, and jar. All four of those examples are saying R, and they all happen to be AR. Moving to our schwa group, so that's that upside down E. It's when we have a really strong letter that's telling the O or the A or the E, the vowel in the word, what to do. In these examples, they all are going off of the sound, but the spelling, we're going to call this group irregular, because a lot of the spelling in this group are different from each other. So they're irregular words. So we have to really listen and think. So worst, I hear worth, lurk, sir, all of those are saying earn, pearl, spur, and search. Even though the spelling in them is irregular, they all have the sound in common. It's a pattern. And in our or group, we also have irregular spelling. So that means it's not going to all be the same. They're all a little bit different. So we have to go off of, we're grouping them because of the sound that they're making. Bore, horse, worn, warm, chore, worn. Score, snore, thorn, horse, bore, and core. So that entire group is saying or. So before we end our talk, let me show you a few of your homophones for this week, just so that you can picture. Homophones are words that sound the same, but they mean something different and are spelled different. So you have two examples this week of the word bore. So I've drawn you a little picture. In the first picture, bore, B-O-R-E, this is supposed to be a woodpecker, and the woodpecker is boring a hole into the tree. So bore, B-O-R-E, is making a hole. Boar, B-O-A-R, is in the pig family and a wild version. So B-O-A-R is in the pig family, a wild pig. Another example this week of a homophone. Worn and worn. So I've drawn you a picture. W-O-R-N. So this is showing a shoe and it has some holes in it. So this shoe is very worn or has been used a really long time and has some imperfection. They're not as nice as they first were because they've been worn a lot. And worn, W-A-R-N, is like when you're driving down the road and you have a warning sign, like this warning sign is showing that a stoplight is coming, so be ready to see what the stoplight is telling you to do. So it's warning you. And the last homophone example this week is horse versus horse. H-O-R-S-E is the animal, horse. And H-O-A-R-S-E, so adding in that A into horse, is when, so you can see the girl's throat is hurting. She is having a hoarse voice when it sounds gravelly or scratchy when she talks. So you have those three homophones. You have the ARR group where they're very regular. They all are looking the same. You have the schwa-er group, and they are all spelled very different, but they have the sound in common. And you have the or group, which also has a lot of different spellings, but what they also have in common is the or sound. So it's very much a sound sort this week. A lot of tricky words and some homophones. First grade, we look forward to hearing how it goes. Have a great week.